Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, bandits killed two, kidnapped 3 others in fresh Kaduna attack. Flood submerges houses, destroying properties across Lagos State. Inconsistencies trail National Assembly Election Petition Tribunal. And on the foreign scene, Tunisia arrests migrants, seizes boats in major people smuggling crackdown. Hello there, good evening and welcome to the News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. We begin in Kaduna. Suspected bandits have attacked Dogonoma village within Maro Ward in Kajuru local government area of Kaduna State, killing 2 villagers and abducting 3 others. Now, the assailants allegedly opened fire on the community on Friday morning, leaving residents desperately looking for safety. Johanna Megari, a community leader in the area, confirmed the development to Trust TV. Megari says some of the villagers are now returning to their community after escaping the near-death experience, as they call on the government to deploy additional security measures to forestall future occurrence. Now, the Kaduna State Police Command's Public Relations Officer, ASP Mansur Hassan, confirmed the attack, saying the police is investigating the development. Now, a gang of armed robbers on Sunday killed 1 man and injured another after opening fire on a moving vehicle around Kubwa area in Abuja. According to the reports, the deceased was said to be on his way home after attending a nightclub over the weekend. The report.
The taxi driver, who was shot on one of his hands, managed to drive to Kubwa General Hospital, where he was first treated. But his passenger, who was shot on his abdomen, was not so lucky and was confirmed dead on arrival. His remains were later taken from the hospital on Wednesday and moved to his home state of Adamawa for burial. Trust TV visited his family home around F01 in Kubwa, where a security guard attached to the house, one Jibrin Baba, narrated how the incident took place.
In the morning, around 4:30 to 5. They coming by car drop into combat. The army robber blocking after the Sokare Nana back to our compound. They shoot the driver.
In another incident, a gang of armed robbers had attacked a housing estate known as Annex, located at Chikokuri community on the outskirts of the same Kubwa town in Abuja. The incident took place in the early hours of Tuesday, where the gunmen, said to be numbering about 10, had shot one of the security guards attached to the estate. The victim, Eze Okere, had spoken to our reporter from his bed at the Kubwa General Hospital, where he had been on admission.
Beating the door until the door comes out. I use gun. Shoot me from it. With gun. That security gun. That gun is security gun.
Some of the attackers moved directly to a particular compound in the estate, where they robbed the family of their 5 iPhone phones, jewelry worth 3 million naira, as well as cash amounting to over 1 million naira. A member of the family, Ronke Akinwole, said she was preparing to celebrate her birthday on Thursday before the attack.
So when the guy called me that thief. So, and I come out, I called my husband that there's a thief. So, and before then they enter, one of them jumped into the gate. They used a cutlass to cut it. So I called my husband that there's a thief. So my husband was coming out. He tried to call the neighbor, maybe they can get a police. But he couldn't, the fear couldn't make it.
Of late, there have been many cases of kidnapping in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja.
Still talking security, the Bauchi State Police Command says kidnappers demanded 50 million naira ransom from each of the 39 victims recently abducted in Yankari Forest in Alkali local government area of the state before their rescue by security operatives. The command's public relations officer, SP Ahmed Wakil, disclosed this in a statement on Saturday. Now, the security operatives during the rescue operation neutralized 10 kidnappers. The victims were rescued following a successful operation, according to the statement by Operation Sharandaji, which comprises 2 police technical units, the Anti-Kidnapping Unit, Rapid Response Squad, and the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps set up by the Bauchi State Police Commissioner Awal Muhammad to sanitize kidnappers' dens and rescue the victims. Now, Wakil said the joint operation was carried out several successful operations within and outside Bauchi State. According to him, preliminary investigation has revealed that the kidnappers invaded Gaji village, attacking and abducting the victims who were on their way home. In Lagos, residents in most parts of the state are reeling from the devastation by floodwaters following heavy downpour in the early hours of Saturday. Now, houses were submerged across the affected areas in Lagos. Areas like Okobaba in Agege, Egbeda, Itokun, Ajegule and Ojo were among the hardest hit as the floods swept through the streets and houses. The report.
A territorial coordinator of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Ibrahim Farinloye, said a commercial motorcycle rider was swept away by the flood because he allegedly refused to heed to warnings from his colleagues not to ride along the Ile-Epo bus stop canals in Alimoso, local government area of Lagos State. Farinloye said NEMA, along with the Disaster Management Unit of the Nigeria Police, team of Nigeria Police Force from the Dokpemu Divisional Police Station, Lagos State Neighborhood Security Corps, in conjunction with the Community Development Associations of Papa Ashafa, Fashola and others, helped to distribute emergency relief aid to the flood-impacted communities. Meanwhile, the Lagos State government has announced a postponement of the planned palliative works on the failed sections of the 3rd mainline bridge. The repairs were scheduled for Sundays, September 17th and 24th, between 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on both days. According to a release signed by the Lagos State Commissioner for Transportation, Oluwaseun Oshiyemi, on Saturday, the postponement is due to the heavy downpour experienced in all parts of the metropolis on Saturday. He explained that the rain has affected the preliminaries of the planned palliative works on the asphalt pavements of the bridge by the Lagos State Public Works Corporation. The Transport Commissioner assured that a later date, which will be subject to weather conditions, will be duly communicated for the palliative works, urging motorists to continue to access the bridge with observance of safety measures.
All right, let's get some more insight on that development in Lagos. Ibrahim Farinloye is the Lagos State Coordinator of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and he's joined us via Zoom to give us an update on this development. Mr. Ibrahim, thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour. Give us a snapshot of the scale of this devastation. We're well aware and we've seen some of the pictures there, but what more can you tell us about how the situation developed and how it was managed?
The situation as of yesterday night, nothing seems to, there was no signal that there will be rainfall the following day. But between 1:30 to 2 a.m., it started drizzling. So it continued, but around 3:34, the intensity with thunderstorm started coming up. Then it awoke so many people. We were at alert, and the staff of NEMA were activated with other agencies to prepare for at least possible intervention in case of the situation getting out of hand, because the thunderstorm was really, really thundering then. And as early as 5:30, after morning prayers, some of NEMA staff and myself, we went out, started looking at one place or the other to see what is happening at the flashpoint area. But by 7:30, that we thought it would be down, reports started strolling in from various parts of the whole Lagos state, not the metropolitan area. Epe, Badagry, all of them were affected. Ikorodu, Itowolo, all of them were affected. Unfortunately, only the people around Orile, Agege, and part of Alimosho had a serious casualty that the people have to move out. We have areas like around Okokomaiko. Some people, the rural people around that area, they were badly affected. So, but Papa, Shafa, Fashola, and other communities around that area have to be evacuated, and they moved, especially the vulnerable children, women, lactating mother, have to move to church and mosque. So from there, we had to carry what we did first. After the rain subsided around 1 o'clock, we got a pumping machine to pump the water out. Then we followed up with relief materials, non-food items first, mattresses, clothes, blankets, wares for children. We have Pampers and other disinfectant antiseptics, so that even when we complete and they are returning back to their houses, they have to clear their houses before they start living there. So far so good. As of 4 o'clock, the whole area is almost been cleaned up, right, so that the normal life have returned. Because what we usually experience in Lagos is flash flood. Right. So we have taken care of it, and thank God the preparedness and mitigative action by the state government was effective. And if not for the action of the commercial drivers who refused to heed to instruction or advised by his colleagues, right, we wouldn't have experienced any worse situation. For this situation, the rainfall this year,
if I can just chime in, Mr. Ibrahim, if I can just chime in, this is not an uncommon development in Lagos. This is a perennial development, especially with regards to the flooding. What is NEMA, the state government, through the State Emergency Management Agency, doing differently and effectively to help save lives? Because in those videos that we have in our report, you see people mopping up the water themselves. Is there no capacity on the part of the Emergency Management Agency to help people redirect some of these waters, especially when you're anticipating some of this flooding? Because NIMET has given us enough information to understand the flash points as well as those flood-prone areas.
You see, let me state this. We've done more than enough. We are working towards the worst scenario. But unfortunately, you know, the rain ceased in Lagos for a long time. For a month, only last Friday, that we had a serious rainfall, which almost affected the flights, and God saved us from that situation. Then today's rain was too excessive that nobody can anticipate such. It has never happened in the last 10 years in Lagos. So from that last Friday till today, there was no single drop of water. So it's a climate change issue. Then secondly, about infrastructure. If you look at those videos, you will see the road is higher than the buildings. So when the road was being constructed, I don't know what happened with the structural design of the road. So the road is higher, and the community members, they alleged about abandoned drainage that need to spill out water from those communities. Though it's not only the community, it's not the cause of the canal. Even the canal in all parts of Lagos were overflown. But because of proactive activities and synergy between all agencies, we didn't record any serious issue. So it's a perennial thing. And, you know, infrastructures, most of the infrastructures have been expanded, like Surulere. You know, the former speaker, Gbajabiamila, Amila, did a lot of things in Surulere to mitigate the effect in his constituency then.
Okay.
We need more people. We need...
All right, Mr. Ibrahim Fari, coordinator of the National Emergency Management Agency. I know it's been a very busy weekend for you so far. And of course, I anticipate that it is going to be a lot more busy in the coming days because you're still having to deal with the aftermath of this development. Thank you most kindly for sharing your thoughts and giving us insight into this development in Lagos. We appreciate you for joining us on the News Hour. Thank you most kindly for your time. All right, moving on to some of the day's other news now, to Adamawa State, where authorities have identified overloading, disregard for adverse weather conditions, and the failure to use life jackets when on water transportation as factors responsible for the recent spate of boat accidents across the state, as residents of Mayo-Ine, Ruganje, and Gurin communities say the infrastructure deficit in their communities is militating against their movements. Salis Lawan visited the 3 communities recently affected by the boat mishap and sent in this report.
The most recent wave of accidents started Monday, September 4th, when a canoe traveling between Mayo-Ine and Mayo-Belwa in Mayo-Belwa local government area capsized, killing 2 of its passengers. 4 days later, another accident occurred involving 23 traders and farmers from Ruganje village. 15 of them were found dead the following day, with 3 still missing, while 5 were rescued at Jua Lake. Similarly, on Monday evening, another boat conveying 50 passengers were overturned in Gurin, Fufore local government area, as local divers rescued 11 persons. Many died in the incident, while several are still missing. Muhammad Mustafa is one of the survivors who lost children and a brother. He said the incident was tragic to him and prays never to witness such accidents.
Ina da yara ya'yana 4 akwai kanina 1 5 da 6 ban san wanda zai je in ce zan ceta ba ni kan gaba ki da yana rikita ma a cikin jirgin.
It was indeed a very difficult moment of my life, as I tried very hard to save lives, but couldn't. My brother and 2 children died in the incident.
Na watsa masa ruwa tura shi sannan na samu na ci gaba. Ina neman yaro na karami da dan ni ma ina bakin gaba. Mu je na ce wannan iskan dan da ya taso kan insha Allah zan hakuri kashin na haya zuwa da mu sai mai.
I would not have been the one telling this story because I was initial on the canoe. Until later, I realized that I forgot something in my farm. Then I excused them, so the incident happened.
Meanwhile, Gurin community leaders are asking the government to enforce safety measures and construct a bridge to prevent future occurrence.
Har yanzu in ba Allah ba wanda zai gaya maka adadin mutanen nan nawa ne. Wadannan da aka same su a yanzu ya faru.
A very devastating incident. There are some people still missing who are not indigent of Adamawa. We felt disturbed over the incident.
We
were in the middle of the river when the windstorm started. I still feel very distraught because if I had known that such an incident would happen, I would not have embarked on the journey.
You see, one thing with flash floods, it does not mean as soon as it happened, there will be needs on ground. No, there won't be. But in case we witness any, the Adamawa State Emergency Management Agency, I am certainly sure, is well prepared to attend to it.
Governor Ahmadu Umaru Fintri, who paid a condolence visit to Gurin on Tuesday, directed all relevant agencies to enforce safety standards, which include a ban on overloading and compulsory use of life jackets on the waters. Silas Lewan, Trust TV News, Yola.
In Kebbi State, Governor Nasiru Idris has called for an investigation into the fire incident that gutted 2 transformers of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, as controversy around the incident continues to divide public opinion. The governor, who was accompanied by the Minister of State for Health, Yusuf Tanko Sununu, during his visit to the scene of the fire incident at the TCN power station in Birnin Kebbi on Saturday, says there were rumors that overhoarding of power might be responsible for the fire outbreak. He lauded the state and federal fire service for being able to put out the fire in time without allowing it to spread and cause other damage around the area. Now, while calling on people to remain calm and give the TCN the necessary support in the ongoing efforts to restore power in the state, he says he has given funds to the Ministry of Water Resources to procure more diesel to make water available to people across the state during the blackout. Now, the two major political parties in Bauchi State continue to trade words over the recent judgment from the National Assembly Election Petition Tribunal for the state and the national members affected by the judgment of the tribunal. Now, this is as a ruling of the People's Democratic Party and the opposition APC. Both wait the outcome of the governorship tribunal that is slated for 28th of September. Adamu Imam reports from Bauchi.
From campaigns to get votes via the ballot box, politics here has moved to courts as the major political parties and their candidates in Bauchi State continue to show solidarity and loyalty to their various leaderships. We are winning our tribunal cases in the state, and particularly Jama'ari Itas Federal Constituency, which the APC appealed the judgment and they won at the appeal court. But we are confident that we will win the remaining ones by the grace of God. We can't just lose hope at the tribunal.
That some of the judgments here in Bauchi haven't been favorable to APC. But like what we have witnessed yesterday in the appeal court in Jos, the Jama Referral Constituency that we've lost at the tribunal here, we won it back.
While both parties anxiously await the outcome of the next week's verdict between Governor Bala Mohammed of PDP and Sadiq Baba Abubakar of APC, they are both optimistic of winning their case at the tribunal. Some APC members and their candidates are not bona fide indigents of the state. They are just opportunists, creating confusion for people. We know them very well. Meanwhile, the present governor has done well for the people of the state. I am optimistic he will do more than what he did the last 4 years. The opposition parties should look for something better to do. The seat of the governor is not going anywhere.
Some people, particularly the PDP, allege that we will not even be able to go to court. Eventually, we went to the court. In fact, they were bragging that there wouldn't be any tribunal in Bauchi. Kaura had won fair and clear, according to them. We said, no, we are going to court because we have seen a lot of pitfalls.
However, stakeholders in the state are appealing to the teeming supporters of the two parties and the citizen to accept whatever is the outcome in the interest of peace in the state. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
Now, the National Assembly Election Petition Tribunal sitting in several states is near completion, as judgments have been delivered in most cases in no fewer than 400 election petitions. 552 election petitions were filed by the aggrieved candidates who participated in the National Assembly elections, out of which 150 of the cases have been decided. A slew of verdicts over the past week threw up a series of upset leading to the victories of 7 senators, 23 House of Representatives members being nullified. Kende Amadu analyzes the National Assembly election verdicts in this report.
A 180-day timeline is provided by the Electoral Act for petitions to be decided. Going by this provision, the tribunals are expected to deliver their verdicts on or before September 22 for National Assembly petitions and October 11 for governorship petitions. A lot of activity has gone down, with 150 cases already decided on National Assembly petitions, out of which some suits were withdrawn by the petitioners. From the verdicts given so far, no fewer than 7 senators and 23 House of Representatives members had their elections nullified. 3 of the senators were sacked outright, while 4 of them will face supplementary polls. In the House of Representatives, 18 members were sacked, and there will be 7 supplementary polls. Among the nullified polls, The All Progressives Congress had 5, the People's Democratic Party had 14, the Labour Party 6, and the New Nigeria People's Party 2. By implication, the APC has gained 7 seats, the PDP 5, the Labour Party 2, and the All Progressives Grand Alliance 1. Some of the reasons the tribunals gave for nullifying the elections include invalid nomination, forged names, forged certificates, falsification of results, exclusion of results, non-recording of results, and non-conduct of elections in some polling units. Some of the verdicts delivered may have implications on tribunal verdicts of some state government petitions. The verdicts in Plateau State are a case in point, where the Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Jos nullified the elections of 4 National Assembly members of the People's Democratic Party. In a unanimous judgment of the 3-member panel, Justice Mohammed Tukur ruled that the PDP candidates in the state were invalidly nominated because the party had no structure at the time of nominations. There are speculations that these tribunal judgments may affect the fortunes of Governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, whose nomination followed the same process. Not surprisingly, all those whose elections were nullified have indicated their intentions to appeal the judgments. Kehinde Amudu, Trust TV News.
All right, let's unpack that as the debate around the virility of the judgments continue to permeate the polity. Joining us via Zoom now is Dr. Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst, to give us insight into some of the judgments by the National Assembly Election Petition Tribunal so far. Dr. Ojo, thank you very much for coming for joining us on the program. One particular thought that continues to be re-echoed across the country is the consistent inconsistencies in the verdicts by some of these tribunals. What are your thoughts about what has happened so far?
Okay, thank you very much. Happy weekend. For me, what's happening or what is playing out is such that is expected, is a ritual every 4 years for after the general elections or even off-cycle governorship or other kind of election. It is part of the rights of candidates and political parties to challenge the outcome of elections. It is left to the courts to determine whether a particular petition is frivolous or it has merits. And that's why there is usually pre-election conference and thereafter the full-blown petitions. And Section 285 already stipulated 180 days for hearing of petition and delivery of judgment at the court of first instance. Court of first instance could be the tribunal or could be the court of appeal, as with the case with the presidential election. So what has played out is nothing out of the ordinary. If you cast your mind back, particularly since the return to civil rule in 1999, this has been the tradition. Every case that goes to the tribunal, one person will lose, one person will win. One party will win, one party will lose. So what has happened this year is just that maybe because of the highly competitive nature of 2023 elections, we now have about four political parties whose results have either been upheld or rejected. These are the dominant parties, APC, PDP, then Labour Party and NNPP, as was said in that background. But nothing out of the ordinary is happening.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the consistent inconsistencies from the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal at the Appeal Court, for instance, where some of those verdicts or judgments were read and said, listen, some of these petitions are pre-election matters and they do not have some sort of validity regarding the petition itself. However, what we've seen from Plateau State, for instance, from Edo State, for instance, and all the other cases, seems to be a contradiction. How could there be different interpretations to the same constitutional provisions in the Electoral Act, for instance?
So one needs to be abreast of what the pleas of the petitioners are for one to arrive at whether their lordship was consistently inconsistent. But assuming without conceding that at the tribunal there seems to be some bias, you could see in the case of Jamare Federal Constituency, the Court of First Instance upheld the victory of PDP, but on appeal, it gave victory to APC, and that's the end of the road for PDP, because for federal and for senatorial House of Reps, State House of Assembly, the Court of Appeal is the final arbiter in election matters. Only presidential election gets to Supreme Court, as well as the governorship election. So we have seen that happen time and again, where Court of First Instance may nullify election, which you are alluding to as being consistency inconsistent. But on appeal, the merit of the case may be looked into, and the justice may be restored. Look at the case of Osun governorship election, where the Court of First Instance nullified the election of Ademola Adeleke as the governor of the state. But on appeal, both the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court upheld that decision. Yes, one may say, why are the courts, the tribunal particularly, not taking a cue from the September 6th judgment of the Court of Appeal, which has said that some of these pre-election matters are not to be canvassed at the post-election stage. But again, there is a caveat to that. If you belong to the same party as the person whose victory has been declared by INEC, and you say, look, I'm a candidate, I'm an aspirant, and this case has been on, maybe there could be merit. But what I will say essentially is that this is Court of First Instance for all of the cases, and on appeal, their appellate court may upheld or may set aside. But we should not be unmindful of what happened in Kogi, where Natasha Akpoti has now been declared, senator-elect, and in Abuja here, where Mrs. What is her name? Senatorial election has been upheld. So it's a win and lose situation. But I believe that whatever may seem like miscarriage of justice can be dealt with at the appellate court.
Okay. Dr. Ojo, for a lot of people, right, whoever wins, even though this is a zero-sum game, in elections there are no draws, there are only winners and losers, right? Whoever wins, Nigerians lose. Whoever wins, democracy loses, because the rest of the world is watching Nigeria with a lot of keen interest, and how our democracy might be the largest black democracy on the face of the earth, the biggest one in Africa, but we appear to be making the same mistakes over and over, where the courts play a significant role in deciding who the winner and loser is. In other democracies, the voters get to decide on election day. This definitely signposts the lack of progress, if you can, about the credibility of our election or the integrity of our election. What do you say to those who believe that this once again re-emphasizes the point that INEC did a shoddy job with the 2023 election, and that is why we are where we are today?
I beg to disagree on that count, my brother. And I believe that we should be data-driven and statistically driven in our analysis. From the reports of the background that you read, only 7 senatorial election has been nullified, and about 25 out of 360 House of Representatives. If you do the math, that is still less than 10%. And I don't think anyone that scored 90% in an election or in an exam could be said to have done a shoddy job. And don't forget, every election globally is contested and disputed. Even US, with over 250 years of electoral democracy, you saw what happened with the 2020 presidential election in US, where Donald Trump and his cohort and his supporters up till this year, 3 years after the election, believed that the election was stolen from the Republican, and they fingered the establishment. So what do you say about that? That's a system where they use the technology, which was technology-driven. The court has made a pronouncement, yet Donald Trump is being dragged from one court to the other based on his election dispute. Look at what happened in Brazil. Bolsonaro, the immediate past president of Brazil, his supporters said the election was stolen. That's why the fact that they use an electronic voting machine. Lula da Silva won. They said they will not allow the inauguration of Lula da Silva in January of 2023. So what am I saying? Okay. Look at what has happened in Kenya. Look at what happened in Sierra Leone. It is not only in Nigeria that there are disputed elections, but I'm saying we should be very mindful when we say INEC did a shoddy job.
Dr. Ojo, I think we can agree to disagree that sometimes we will be comparing apples and oranges with regards to what is happening elsewhere in the world. But then again, it is still a conversation that will be unpacking in the coming days as the time lapses for the National Assembly Election Petition Tribunal by September 22nd, and the gubernatorial elections in the second week of October as they come to a conclusion. Perhaps then we can have a conclusive conversation about how well we have done with the elections and how well the tribunals have done adjudicating some of those cases. Dr. Jide Ojo, as always, thank you for your invaluable analysis and for joining us on the News Hour.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Happy weekend.
All right. Let's take a look at the other developments now. The Nigerian Senate on Saturday dismissed media reports that some aggrieved senators were plotting to impeach the Senate president. Now, some media outfits had on Saturday reported that some senators were plotting to impeach Senator Godswill Akpabio. The reports claim that some of the unidentified senators met in Saudi Arabia to perfect their moves. But the Senate spokesperson in a statement described the report as a ruse. Senator Godswill Akpabio, while reacting, also dismissed the report, describing it as a complete imagination laced with malice to achieve what senators are yet to comprehend. He said the Nigerian Senate under his leadership is stable and unperturbed by what appears to be a syndicated media attack from outside the precinct of the National Assembly. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up ahead, we take a look at the concerns of local cap traders lamenting low patronage in Maiduguri. More on this and many other stories coming up ahead after the break. Welcome back to the news, and thank you very much for staying with us. Here's a quick reminder of our top stories at this hour. Bandits have killed 2 persons, kidnapped 3 others in fresh Kaduna attack. Flood submerges houses, destroying properties across Lagos as the state government postpones planned 3rd mainland bridge repairs. Now, the Kaduna State Police Command has apprehended 4 persons over alleged child trafficking in the state. They were arrested at Samaru Zaria in Sabongari local government area of the state and brought to the police headquarters in Kaduna. Now, the state acting public relations officer, Mansour Hassan, says the suspects were apprehended through intelligence gathering. The report.
Okay.
The arrested suspects have been identified as Rahila Gajere, a retired social worker, Ngozi Peter, a nurse, Mariam Afaka, and Blessing Eze. During interrogation at the police command, Mariam confessed to supplying Ngozi with stolen children and receiving payment from her. She admitted to obtaining these babies from young girls with unwanted pregnancy. Mariam said she has supplied about 3 to 4 infants to Ngozi but doesn't know where the babies have been taken to.
Ai wani sa'in tana bin mu a baya. Mu biyu za mu tafi ko ta bi mu zama na uku. Ba wai ni kadai za ta sa ba. Mu biyu da ɗayan matan tana zama a shagonta amma ba ita ta san ɗayan matan.
We often go together with another woman when we're still a child. We give her, and she takes back and runs with the child. I don't know where she takes the children to. She pays me 25 or 50,000 naira per child.
The one sa'in ta bani 50,000, one sa'in ta bani 25,000.
Ngozi, on her part, denies stealing any babies, claiming that the 2 girls found in her house were adopted.
I adopted the 2 girls.
How?
The senior one was 2017.
How much have you paid?
350,000.
You pay 350,000 naira to who?
There's one woman that have similar issue that I was introduced to through Mrs. Eze.
How much do you buy the second one?
450,000.
450,000 naira. How? To who?
I am a reproductive health provider. So it's a student that came to my shop and confided in me that she had unwanted pregnancy.
She explained that she had met Mariam 2 years ago because she used to patronize her chemist. Rahila, a retired social worker, and Blessing were also implicated as members of the group.
I asked her, where did she got the child? She didn't tell me.
She didn't tell you?
Yes,
then why do you issue her certificates?
I am sorry, sir.
As you know, born. As you know, born. Too. I can't direct them to my church member. And so the woman is late now. And both the husband, 2 of them, is late. It's late because they don't leave Zaria.
The command's public relations officer, ASP Mansour Hassan, while advising all to be cautious of people around them, confirmed that investigation is ongoing, while the suspect will be charged to court once the investigation concludes.
We always have this issue at Zaria. With this, that is why we draw the attention of the members of the public, especially who are given house for rent and other things. So they should be very, very careful.
They further confessed that they conceal their faces with veils when carrying out their activities to hide their identities. Bella Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Now, National and World Cleanup Day is being celebrated in September, bringing people together across the world to clean up and care for their communities. This year, the theme, Let's Do It World, draws attention to proper management of solid waste and cleaning up environments, forests, rivers, streets, and beaches across the world. Now, in this report, Noel Sampson speaks to environmental and climate change activists and experts on the essence of the day and its impact on climate change and climate migration.
World Cleanup Day is held over the course of a 24-hour period
on the 3rd Saturday of September annually. It aims to raise awareness of the mismanaged waste crisis by mobilizing all spheres of society to participate in cleanup actions, hence the importance of the day.
This crisis that we are facing, it's not really our doing now. It has been the doing of our forefathers. The one that we are even making, the pollution we are making now, we are not going to face the crisis. It's our unborn children that will face this crisis of what we are doing. So it is very, very important that we live a very sustainable environment, community for our unborn children.
I remember every last Saturday, and in some other states, every first Saturday, they do environmental sanitation. And at that time, I think it greatly helped because it helped build that consciousness in the mind of people that we need to keep our environment clean. So I think if governments can go back to that initiative, it's a good one. I mean, to just create that awareness in the mind of people to take care of their environment with the aim of contributing to environmental sustainability.
There has always been a fundamental interdependence between migration and the environment, but the reality of climate change adds new complexity to this nexus. This, experts say, justifies the need to clean the environment since climate change disasters like floods in Nigeria are mostly caused by blocked drainages occasioned by deaths, especially plastics.
So the impact of climate change as we are feeling it in our country, flooding is one of it. And of course, plastic waste is a major contributor because they block all the drainages, they block all the water channels, and then water ends up on our streets and then in our homes and everywhere gets flooded. So as a country that is very vulnerable to flooding, we need to take those steps that will reduce the impact of flooding, and one of it is cleaning our environment, cleaning our drainages.
Yeah, so it is interesting to know that. When people talk about migration, people believe migration is just people leaving a place illegally to go to a new, to find green heavens, to find better place, to live better life. But no, so when climate change affects a particular place, you see people who don't really want to leave their natural home are forced to leave. You get? So when the flooding that happened in Nigeria last year, you see that many people whose home got submerged by water, they can't live there anymore. They have to leave. Now, they are the place where they work, where they make their livelihood, they have their family feel safe. They are now forced to become IDPs, to live elsewhere.
World Cleanup Day harnesses the power of people around the world to cooperate and collaborate to clean the environment. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, local cap traders in Maiduguri have expressed their concerns that low patronage might force them out of business, which may worsen the unemployment crisis in the state. The traders who fled their ancestral homes as a result of the insurgency over the years have sustained themselves using knitting and selling traditional caps to earn a living. Olatunji Omirin reports from Maiduguri.
For one to look upright in traditional attires, a cap is a must on itself to match the northern culture. Abdullah Ali, the secretary of the traders, complained of low patronage, saying caps are available, but costly due to high cost of materials.
The business is not going because the sale is becoming very low, and even if you sell, you don't even get your money in the expected period.
Also, traders said there is no hustling or bustling that usually characterized the market in the previous years. The market has drastically reduced compared to last year or 2 years ago as a result of economic hardship and subsidy removal. Resident Musa Mohammed says he could barely afford to buy foodstuff because of the hike in prices, and so caps are not a priority for him now.
Only when you are okay, when you get enough foodstuff, enough money that can be able to take care of your family, then you will now think of other things like cap. But since the removal, we cannot be able. I did not even buy because I can say like 60% of what I am getting is going by transportation.
They beg the government to support their businesses because they also pay taxes and contribute to the economic growth of this country. Olatunji Omirin, Trust TV.
Time now to join Chiamaka Nwafo for today's latest in business.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has signed a landmark memorandum of understanding with Indorama Eleme Petrochemicals Limited on gas supply in a bid to promote the use of natural gas by large-scale gas utilization industries. The company announced via its X, formerly Twitter page, on Saturday. On September 6, 2023, Mele Kyari, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, said the company is working with Indorama to see how $7 billion can be invested in petrochemicals in the short term in Nigeria. He said this during the Nigeria-India Business Forum in New Delhi, India, alongside President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. According to Kyari, India is now one of the growing markets for Nigeria's crude oil, condensates and liquefied natural gas, which creates an opportunity for establishing significant investments in both the upstream and downstream sectors of the oil and gas industry in the country. While speaking during the Nigerian-India Business Forum, President Tinubu emphasized that his administration was ready to welcome more investments into the country. Nigeria spent 2.34 trillion naira on debt service within 6 months, according to the new report by the Debt Management Office, DMO. Nigeria's debt service and spend in the second quarter of 2023 saw a slowdown amounting to 849.58 billion naira. This marks a 43.04% decline from the 1.49 trillion naira spent on debt servicing in the first quarter of 2023. Data from the DMO reveals that in the first quarter of 2023, Nigeria allocated 874.13 billion naira for servicing domestic debt and $801.36 million, which is equivalent to 617.35 billion naira for external debt servicing, totaling 1.24 trillion naira. Meanwhile, during the second quarter of 2023, Nigeria's domestic debt servicing expenses amounted to 565.88 billion naira, while external debt servicing costs reached $368.26 million, equivalent to 286.7 billion naira, resulting in a combined total of 1.24 trillion naira, according to data obtained from the Debt Management Office. The exchange rate of the DMO, which was $1 to 770 naira 38 kobo, was used for external debt servicing. And finally, the African Development Bank, AFDB, and the government of Korea have signed a $28.6 million grant to boost Africa's development agenda. The AFDB, in a statement on its website on Saturday, said the funding complemented $600 million co-financing under the Korea-Africa Energy Investment Framework agreed with the Korean government in 2021. According to the statement, the framework supports African countries to build human capacity and develop their energy sectors. The agreements were signed in Busan during the 7th Korean-Africa Economic Cooperation Ministerial Conference, which is being co-hosted by the bank and Korea. The government said the new funding would primarily support energy access, agricultural transformation, and knowledge and capacity building across a number of African countries. The AFDB Group President Akinwumi Adesina and Korea's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Economy and Finance, Kyung-Chu, signed the first agreement for $28.6 million. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Nwafo.
Let's turn our attention now to developments on the international scene. We begin in Tunisia, where the police, supported by planes and anti-terrorism units, arrested hundreds of migrants and seized boats on Saturday in a major crackdown on people smuggling in the coastal region of Sfax, a key departure point for migrants heading to Europe. The operation, which the government says was ordered by President Kais Saied, came as the Italian island of Lampedusa struggles with a record number of migrants crossing from North Africa by boats. Tunisia's National Guard units raided homes where hundreds of migrants were staying, intercepted trucks carrying migrants towards the beaches, and seized vessels used by smugglers, according to officials and witnesses. Several suspected smugglers were detained in the operation, involving planes, police dogs, military trucks, and hundreds of police officers in towns of Jebiniana, Kerkena, Mastria, and Sfax, the capital of the governorate. Now, Said ordered the crackdown to confront the unacceptable influx of migrants, the Interior Ministry said in a statement. Now, several Inkatha Freedom Party supporters and traditional Amabuto warriors regiment have paid tributes to the late Zulu Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi on Saturday as mourners gathered for the funeral of veteran South African politician and Zulu chief. First, his remains from the local mortuary were taken and sent to his family household ahead of Sunday's state funeral. Mangosuthu Buthelezi, the once feared Zulu nationalist and historic leader of Inkatha Freedom Party, which was implicated in South Africa's deadliest violence ahead of the first all-race elections, died on Saturday, September 9th, at the age of 95. Born of royal blood on August 27, 1928, Mangosuthu Buthelezi was, to some, the embodiment of the Zulu spirit, which is proud and fierce and feisty. To others, he bordered on a warlord. Now, he led the party from its inception until the age of 90. And in sports, Nigeria's under-18 women handball team began their 19th Africa Women's Youth Handball Championship with a 21-18 victory over Algeria on Saturday in Monastir, Tunisia. The coach of the team, Shitu Adewumi Agbola, led the team and were making a return to the competition for the first time in 23 years. And they didn't find it easy in the first half against the Algerians as they played out a pulsating 10-10 to end the half. Now, Coach Agbola, noticing that the girls were having an uneasy turnover, made some tactical changes that saw the team use the wings more in the second half, anchored more by Taiwo Babatunde, and Nigeria blew away their North African rivals to win the half 18-8 and the match 28-10. Taiwo Babatunde was voted MVP of the match. Nigeria will play their next match against Guinea on Saturday by 4 p.m. Well, that's the size of our bulletin. Thank you most kindly for joining us. As usual, feel free to follow us across our social media platforms for more content and visit trusttv.com for more news. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for watching and good night.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.